Did you know that the ancient Chinese invented paper almost 200 years before the printing press? And they made it from something you wouldn't expect. For most of human history, writing was done on stone tablets or pieces of wood. But in the 2nd century AD, a guy named Cylon was looking for a cheaper and more convenient way to make his writing more portable. He experimented with different materials like cloth and bamboo, but these were expensive and the ink would often bleed through to the other side. Then he had a stroke of genius. He noticed that the outer layer of a mulberry tree had these long, thin fibers. When processed and beaten into a pulp, they could be turned into a lightweight sheet with incredible durability. In fact, this material was so strong that the Chinese used it to make paper money. And how did they make paper money? By printing designs onto the paper using blocks of wood. This was the beginning of paper money, but it wasn't quite like the paper we use today. See, the Chinese didn't have a press to apply the ink to the paper, so they did it by hand. And because there wasn't a mechanical way to distribute the ink evenly, the paper had to be made by hand as well. It was an incredibly labor-intensive process that required skilled artisans. But it was worth it. The Chinese were some of the biggest fans of paper. They used it for everything from books to maps to music sheets and even wallpaper. And because it was so much cheaper than other materials, it quickly became the writing material of choice throughout China. In fact, paper was so popular in China that the art of papermaking was kept a secret for centuries. They didn't want the outside world to know how they were making such high-quality paper, so they passed down the techniques from master to apprentice in secret. But eventually the secret got out and papermaking spread to the Middle East and Europe. The rest is history. Today, we're gonna learn about the Middle Ages. Hey, that rhymes, woo! It might seem easy to make paper, but trust me, it's really hard to make good paper. The paper we use every day is made from wood pulp, which comes from trees. But back in the Middle Ages, trees weren't as common, so paper was made from other materials like linen and cotton. Now you'd think that making paper from plants would be easier than making paper from wood, but it's actually more difficult. See, wood has these long, tough fibers that are perfect for making paper. But plant fibers are shorter and weaker, so it takes longer to process them and they don't make as good paper.